Alrighty, this is the last video that you are probably watching, and all this is images. So these are some images that you will probably see on the test on Thursday. So please kind of pay attention to this. Maybe go through your flashcards as you're watching this to kind of help you. There is a word bank on the test, so don't worry about spelling and all that. But I want to be sure that you know what you're looking at and that you can answer these questions. So this may be one of those videos that you watch right now as you're working on the review sheet, and maybe the night before or the morning of the test, just as a good refresher. So what we're looking at here at this moment is, hopefully you know, but this is your hip bone, okay, or your pelvic bone. Coxal bone is another kind of word that you might hear related to your hip. But your hip is basically divided into three like little structures or little bones, and they're all kind of merged together, okay? So what you see here, your main bone, especially what you feel when you feel your hip, that is your ilium. So kind of let's see, kind of all this area here is your ilium. What you see here, kind of at the top, this is your pubic bone. I've also seen books that called it pubis bone, so tomato, tomato, I guess. But for the sake of this, we'll just say pubic bone. And then right here, kind of at the bottom, is your ischium. So those are the three main areas of your hip, is your ilium, which is the big piece, your pubic bone, and your ischium. One of the questions on your review sheet was, what is the acetabulum? And we talked about where these bones kind of fuse together, but that is this area right here. So I'm going to squeeze this in here. So this is your acetabulum. Just because I'm not there doesn't mean I remembered how to spell. Sorry, guys. So that is your acetabulum. So that is where these three bones are going to meet. So your ilium, your pubic bone, and your ischium. The other thing that happens here, that's where your femur connects. So we talk about your femur and your hip being a ball and socket joint. Well, the head of your femur is going to fit right into that acetabulum, and that's what forms the joint. Okay. Some other things that I want to be sure that you know how to label. So that right there is known as your iliac crest. So again, when you touch your hip bone and you can feel it, that is what you are touching, is your iliac crest. And then I think the last thing that I would like you to know is this little joint here. So this little piece, I don't want to color it in so you can see it, but that is known as your pubic symphysis. So we talked about this on an earlier video as well as in class, but remember, this is a cartilaginous joint. So all that is a little piece of cartilage that's connecting kind of like your left side and your right side. It's got a little bit of give. So remember, again in class we talked about during childbirth and child labor, in order to get the baby's head and body through the vaginal canal and the opening, this has to give a little bit. So that is the pubic symphysis. That is just a joint, a cartilaginous joint that's right here at the front. Okay? So again, be sure you know the three parts of your hip bone. So that's your ilium, your pubic bone, and your ischium. They all kind of fuse together at the acetabulum. You've got your iliac crest and your pubic symphysis. So again, if you know these things of your hip bone, you are going to be in good shape. All right, what you see here is just, again, a full body skeleton. I had to kind of shrink it down a little bit so it would fit on my screen on my iPad. So sorry for the size. I promise you on the test it'll be a little bit more clear. But a couple of things I want to kind of point out to you so you are aware of where these things are. Let me kind of change my pen size here so I can get it in there. So what you see here, So this bone, I'll kind of color it on one side here so you can, well, I may not do that. You may not be able to see it. But that bone right there, that is your clavicle. So again, also known as your collarbone. You got one on this side and one on that side. So that is your clavicle. Your main arm bone that you see here, that is your humerus. Your forearm here is made up of two bones, your ulna and your radius. So sometimes just looking at them, they're kind of confusing. But if you always follow where your thumb is, you will know where the radius is. So this bone right here, that is your radius because I see that it is thumb side. So your radius is always thumb side, and then the other one would be your ulna. All right, so radius is always thumb side, and then the other one is your ulna. So that's an easy way to remember it. If we're looking at our legs, this main bone here is our femur, so your thigh, and then our lower leg is made up of two bones, your tibia and your fibula. So your tibia is the big one. So that's what is known as your shin bone. And then the little one on the side, that is your fibula. So you got your tibia and your fibula make up the bottom of your leg. Okay. One other, I'm trying to think what else would be on this. We'll kind of focus on it here in a second, but if you look kind of right here, you can see your scapula or your shoulder blade. It's kind of hiding there in the back. Kind of looking at that like I spelled it wrong. So that is your scapula, but we'll focus on that on another one. Okay. All right, if we are looking at this one should look familiar, and hopefully you did well on that quiz and remember it, but this is your foot. So I promise you I will have a right foot such as this one. I don't want to confuse anybody. So if we look at it at the very end here are the phalanges, so the toes. If you see here, this is like your big toe. It's got two phalanges, whereas all the other toes, they have 1, 2, 3. So if we were to count up the phalanges, we'd say 2 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3. So that would give us 14. So there's like 14 total phalanges in one foot. But the big toe just has 2, whereas all the other ones actually have 3. The next set of bones here, that is your metatarsals. Again, that's like the top of your foot. That would be your metatarsals. Don't confuse this with metacarpals. That's on the top of your hand, okay? These next 3 bones are kind of easy to remember. So this one right here is your medial cuneiform. The one in the middle is your intermediate cuneiform. Some of you on the quiz got a little lazy and didn't write them all out, but I'll let that slide. And then this one right here is your lateral cuneiform. Okay, so those are easy. They all have the same names, but they've got directional terms, so hopefully that's not too tricky. This one right here is your navicular bone. Right over here is your cuboid. What I had some questions on during the quiz, and we may still have some questions on it, this whole thing that I'm outlining right now, that is one bone. It gives the appearance of like maybe it's 2 separate ones, but it's actually just one, and that is known as your talus. And then right here is your heel bone, which we've talked about previously today, and that is your calcaneus. So those are the main bones of your foot. Again, this should be somewhat of a review since you took the quiz, and I think y'all rocked the foot pretty well. So again, but just take a look at that before Thursday. All right. Hopefully you see this bone and you're not like, what the heck is this? But Since I'm not there to see your faces, I'll just pretend that this is a review of me telling you that this is your scapula or your shoulder blade. So hopefully you knew what that was. A couple of things I want you to know here. This little area here that I'm kind of circling, that is known as the glenoid cavity. So this was a previous question on your review sheet. Remember that the head of the humerus fits in here and it forms that ball and socket joint of your arm. So that is your glenoid cavity. This right here, kind of like this whole area, is known as the spine of the scapula. So again, I'm going to kind of just outline it in blue. It's this whole little ridge that you see kind of going up in there. That would be your spine. This little projection is your acromion process. And then the one on the back is known as your coracoid process. Sorry, I'm getting messy here. Sorry, guys. Okay. So those are the main things that I would like you to know for the scapula. Again, be sure that you can recognize this as the scapula and that you can identify these things. All right, the last set of bones is your hand. Again, I'm going to kind of leave this to you guys. You have those images where they're labeled. But again, just kind of a quick recall. Remember, these are your phalanges. So the thumb here just has two, 1, 2. But if we look at all the other fingers, they actually have 3. So 1, 2, 3. So the hand, each one has 14 phalanges. The thumb just has 2. And then kind of the top of your hand or the palm of your hand, remember these are known as metacarpals. So don't confuse those with the foot. And remember your radius, we can even squeeze this in here. Remember your radius is always thumb side, and then your ulna is just the other one. Okay, so remember those. But I don't know that I have enough space to put this on the video, but so please kind of take a look at this. But remember our little acronym to kind of help you. We're going to start kind of here with this bone here, and we're going to say Sally left the party to take Kathy home. So again, let me kind of make my little areas bigger to help you here. I'll do it in green. But we kind of start here so we can say Sally left the party to take Kathy home. So that will help you hopefully get those bones in order. I know the T's are kind of hard, but again, take a look at those before the test on Thursday. So hopefully this covered it all. Remember, we're going to Hillside on Wednesday, so please be sure that you bring your permission slip so you can go. I just need a parent, so please, please, please go. If at any point you have questions over this review sheet or these videos or anything, please email me. I'll have my computer during the day at this meeting, so please let me know if you have any questions. But otherwise, I hope y'all are behaving and y'all are doing good stuff and getting a lot done. So have a good one. I'll see you on Wednesday.